Okay, welcome to our Selectmen's meeting. It's Monday, June 13th. Please. So we'll do some introductions. We have with us our recording secretary, Kelly Bigos, our town manager, Tom Wooden, and all the selectmen, Trish Warren, Wendy Wolf, myself, Denise Griffin, Mike Tomko, and Russ Hoffman. So, Tom, moving into town manager announcements.
Thank you. Just a reminder that tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning at the Opera House is an introduction to Green Tree Events, which is the group that the Joint Economic Development Committee recommended and both towns agreed to hire to promote the fall season in conjunction with the Gardens Aglow event. So again, that's at 8 in the morning from 8 to 9 at the Opera House. Just as an FYI, it seems a long time ago now, but back on May 26th, I had an open house here all afternoon on a Friday afternoon, I believe, with all of the samples of Christmas lights that S4 had sent to us. S4 is a company that did the Gardens Aglow, and had merchants come in throughout the afternoon, gave them catalogs, contact information, showed them some of the features and so forth of what some of the lights did. So at least it gave them a contact point, so if some of the individual merchants and so forth want to decorate as well, they now have the same information that we do. So, well, as you know, it's getting to be that time of the year we have an upcoming audit in the end of June, so Julie is stressing about that already. If you haven't had a chance to check out the footbridge, check out the east side of the harbor. The footbridge enhancement on that side of the harbor is complete. And it looks absolutely beautiful. So, and kudos to Nancy Rowe and all those that contributed to making that happen, because that's a really nice improvement. Lauren Stockwell and Don Layton and myself and Chris Lehman are all working together to gather all the necessary information for any required DEP permits to continue proceeding with putting in the basketball court, pickleball court, where the former tennis courts were. At this point, I received an architectural design from Don Layton showing trees, which I'll get to you when it's got all the information on it, costs of trees, things like that. Once that plan is put together, I'll bring that to you to present, because I know you wanted to see that before we proceeded with anything. So. The municipal paving, at least for the spring, is done, Howard Street and the municipal parking lots. The Department of Transportation has most of their paving done. All of the in-town paving is done at this point. What they have left to do is still Lakeside Drive and McCown Point Road. Public Works is quickly sweeping in behind them to start repainting parking spaces, crosswalks, and the state at some point will repaint their lines down the center. So that is still underway. Also, a lot of the CMP poles are still being replaced as crews. McCown Point had 5 crews on it last week, so there's a lot of places still under construction there. So. The wayfinding signs are done and over at Public Works. At this point, Chris is looking into J-molding to hold the signs in place, put plexiglass over it so that we can slide it in there, mount it, and in the fall just unscrew one side and take those signs out for the winter. Right now the priority is to get the downtown painted, and then we'll get the signs up, but they are here and are done. There's a new server rack in the main town office now that secures the server so that it can't be accessed by anyone. And Julie may want to explain more as to why that had to be done.
We have an FBI securities audit in 2 weeks. They've been auditing area police departments to make sure the data is secure and the transmission of it. So we had to secure the facility where our server is currently. So they'll be here in 2 weeks.
So almost in conjunction with when we were doing that, as you know, our phone system went down, our 20-year-old phone system.
Yes.
We struggled with that for about a week. Actually, it was just a little over a week before we were able to find someone that could at least reboot it and reset it. We're waiting for Fairpoint at this point. We've worked out with them having all the phone systems upgraded, our internet service upgraded and so forth, but we're kind of in a queue because they have other customers ahead of us at this point. So we're within the next 30 days, the phones will be upgraded. So I think those are the announcements that I have at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Yep, sure.
All right, moving on to selectmen reports. Wendy, you have any update on economic development?
Well, I was
Sorry.
going to, no, I was going to point out the meeting at the Opera House, and Tom did that, so thank you, Tom. I will say the Economic Development Committee met last week, I think it was. Time flies when you're having fun. And we have decided that there are so many things going on with Green Tree events and also starting the wayfinding sign project through the Ask Grant that we are going to be meeting once a month during the summer months, the first Tuesday of every month at 5:30 at the YMCA second floor conference room, and then use the alternative time for the subgroups that are shepherding these projects to have time to actually do the work that we are trying to get done. So I think that's really about it for joint economic development, so. Did you want to add anything else? Oh,
Our meeting?
Oh, of
Yes.
course. Yes, thank you. One reason Mike and I just rushed here is Mike and I just had a very great meeting with the folks at Edgecombe. Edgecombe has an economic development committee also, and we met with them tonight to both invite them to work jointly with us on sort of the peninsula-wide issue of how we will foster economic development working together. We shared the process for developing our joint economic development agreement here through the towns, and also talked about some of the projects that are ongoing. I think some of the representatives are going to come tomorrow to the Opera House event so they can hear what's happening with Green Tree. And there's a lot of enthusiasm for Edgecombe to join us, at least to send representatives to the meeting. So it was a really great meeting. I think they're excited to link up with us, and we're excited to link up with them. Did you want to add anything, Mike?
Well, just that it's interesting to note that they're doing something similar to what our joint economic development group did, which was polling their business owners, and they've done an electronic survey and a paper survey, and there's also some talk about going forward and actually doing some one-on-one with the businesses to get a better understanding or feel what their needs are, what their requirements are, and how the town can better serve them. So they're doing the similar steps that we have done with our JEDC. And there was a lot of enthusiasm, so
Yeah.
looking forward to the partnership, the possibilities there.
So I think that's it.
Thank you. Good. Russ, any update on ambulance?
There was a ambulance board meeting on Monday evening. The first Monday of every month is a board meeting for the ambulance board. I guess the biggest thing to note is you've probably noticed that construction has started down there in way of the new ambulance station. The new drainage culvert is dug in, and we're going to see some building construction pretty quickly. And at the same time, we started planning our fall fundraising campaign, letter campaign, like we did last year. So that's about it for down there.
Great.
If I can just add one thing to that, too.
Sure.
A week or two ago, the ambulance service provided their quarterly results.
Yeah.
Their final payment is on tonight's warrant,
Right.
and I didn't hear any feedback other than positive feedback as far as proceeding with paying from the fourth quarter. So I just wanted to remind everybody that it is on tonight's warrant.
Great.
Thanks, Tom.
So that's a good segue into financials. Julia?
I have before you your revenue and expense sheets. Total revenue year to date, $7,578,864. And as you can see, compared to this, in comparison to this time last year, we had collected 95.8. So far, we've collected 99.2. So
It's great.
we're doing very well in revenue collection. Total expenses, $6,696,793. And does anyone have any questions on the revenue or expense sheet? We have one more accounts payable and 3 payroll warrants in total. fiscal year end closes. Total accounts payable, $432,037.80. And the bank balance is $2,664,126.98, and you can see I left a comma out there, so. And I had every 2 years, we have a general assistance state examiner from DHS come down and met my office this morning, and we were in full compliance with the laws and statutes for general assistance, so a little certificate that we passed.
Oh, that's great.
Good.
Pass that on to you.
Oh, that's
For
Excellent.
the audits and the cases for the year.
Thanks for your good work on that.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 23rd meeting. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Comments, edits? No?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. All right, so we'll move on to licensees. How about we take the liquor license renewal for the Carousel Music Theater first? The police chief has initialed it.
Yep.
This is a renewal. It's been a business that's been around for a long, long time.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion from the audience? No? Anybody else? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to the special amusement license for the carousel. So, same business. Nothing's changed from other years. I'll look for a motion.
I move to approve their application for Class A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Okay. Seeing none? All in favor? Okay. And last, we have some late renewals for victualler licensees, which I think we can take as a group, but I'll read them. We have a Class C for the Hometown Convenience Store. We have a Class F for Oak Street Provisions, a Class H for Carousel Music Theater, and Class D for Wanawa.
And I'll move approval of the 4 licenses.
Second. Okay, any discussion? Questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to old business. Do we have any new business tonight? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, okay, great, so we'll move on to new business. So the first item under new business is to approve a purchase order for the budgeted fire department washer and dryer.
Correct. If you'll remember, last year when we went through the budget process, at town meeting, $15,000 was approved for an industrial washer and dryer for the fire department. I have a purchase order here for $14,935. As per our ordinance, anything over $5,000 needs to have a purchase order, so I'd ask the board to sign off on this evening.
I will make a so moved motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Great.
And the second purchase order here is for our share of the first payment to Green Tree Events, which is $5,000. The total payment for the first share is $10,000. $5,000 is coming from Boothbay. So again, as per our ordinance, the purchase order is $5,000, which I would ask the board to approve and sign this evening.
I will so move enthusiastically.
I'll enthusiastically second.
Okay, and we've talked about this quite a bit, so I'm assuming there's no discussion. All in favor? Okay, great. All right, municipal appointments.
You should have all received via email this, I believe, last week. It's a slightly different format than what you've seen in recent years, but other than that, it's virtually the same. It just distinguishes between Board of Selectmen appointments where hiring and firing requires Board of Selectmen approval versus our ordinance that was changed at last year's town meeting. It's town manager appointments where hiring and firing does not require Board of Selectmen approval. These are all beginning as of July 1st, but I would ask, as these are approved this evening, that we approve Brent Barter's appointment as Shellfish Warden, effective as of tomorrow, because we don't have someone out on the flats right now, and we do need that enforcement. So,
Do you want that as a separate
Yeah,
motion?
why
or-
not?
yeah,
Why
yeah,
not
we'll
do
do
it
that
separately?
separately, please. But I would ask that all of these appointments be approved, and it's also listed on your sheet which few positions we still have that are vacant.
Okay, so look for a motion to approve all of the municipal appointments effective 7/1.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion?
Can you just read them, Tom?
Sure, yeah. Here's the longest one. Town manager, tax collector, treasurer, road commissioner, agent for the overseer of the poor and public access officer, myself. Finance officer, Julia Latter. Town clerk, Michelle Farnham. Public works director, Christopher Lehman. Chief of police / constable, Robert Hosh. Harbor master, Nicholas Upham. Fire chief, fire warden, fire inspector, Nicholas Upham. Code enforcement officer, Jeffrey Smith. Emergency management director, Clarence Campbell. Registrar of voters, Michelle L. Farnham. Secretary to the town manager, Patricia Fallon. Deputy tax collector, deputy treasurer, Julia Latter. Assistant tax collectors, assistant treasurer, Patricia Fallon. Deputy town clerk / registrar, Patricia Fallon. Assistant town clerk, Lawrence Omland. General assistance administrator, Julia Latter. Police sergeant / constable, Patrick Higgins. Administrative assistant to the police department, Maureen Smith. Police officers, Scott Mercier, Lawrence Brown, Tom Kriplowitz, Devin Polizzotti. Reserve police officers, Nicholas Upham, John Braley, Jared Mitkus. Police matrons, Maureen Smith, Michelle Farnham. Parking enforcement, Louis Burnham, Reynold Hulse, Nicholas Scott. Deputy harbor master, Douglas Snyder. Assistant harbor master, Frederick Farnham. First assistant to fire chief / deputy fire warden, Glenn Tilton. Fire engineer, deputy fire warden, Matthew Sledge. Deputy code enforcement officer, Marion Anderson. Health officer, Jeffrey Smith. Plumbing inspector, Jeffrey Smith. Alternate plumbing inspector, Marion Anderson. Animal control officer, David Pratt. Deputy animal control officer, Mary Pratt. Assistant animal control officer, that one's a vacant one. Assistant to the emergency management director, Lawrence Omlin. Shellfish, skip that, we'll come back to that one. Economic Development Committee, Frank Fassett, Jamie Logan, Ken Rail, Mike Tomko. And for boards and committees, Shellfish Committee, Sean Gray, Douglas Perkins, Russell Main. Planning Board, Thomas Churchill, William Hamlin, Margaret Barrett, John Hochstein, Chris Swanson. Board
Tom,
of...
may I interrupt for a second, please? Is there any, there's no distinguishing in the planning board members, are there? Those are all full members?
These are all full, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to any, on the Board of Appeals, there's an alternate.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Board of Appeals, Palmer Payne, Robert Hilscher, Howard Henninger, John Dunsford, Scott C., and as the first alternate, Ken Fitch. Port Committee, James Powers, Frederick Farnham, Palmer Payne, Clive Farron, Andrew Marvin. And Budget Committee, Palmer Payne, Margaret Splain, and Charles Herman. And that particular committee, we could use a lot of help getting some more members, because there's only 3 at this point, and I
Right.
think Charles may be moving, so.
Yep.
And the last 2 are the Boothbay Region Refuse District, Gary Farnham and Palmer Payne.
Thank you. That's a long list, but well done.
Okay, so, any other questions?
I just want to reiterate the great need for people to serve on the Budget Committee, because I think if folks are watching, just so you know, the Budget Committee does not meet a lot except during the winter months, so you do need to be around in the winter, but it's a very time-limited commitment. It helps you understand a lot about the town budget and where we put our funding and why. And beside it's fun, anything with Palmer paint on is bound to be a blast. And it actually is a really helpful committee because it balances the conversation with the select board to try and do the right things when we're presenting the budget to the town in May. So I'm sure, Tom, people can contact you if they have any interest in learning more about the budget committee or even applying.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, good. So, all in favor? Okay, motion carries. So next, I'll look for a motion to approve Brent Barter as Shellfish Warden effective immediately.
So moved.
And second.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. All right, so the next item on here is the adoption of our updated hazard mitigation plan. So, Scott.
Yes, come before you tonight to see if you have any questions on the hazard mitigation plan. Did you all get a chance to read it? It's interesting reading, isn't it?
If you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, do you have any questions on it?
Can you summarize for us what you see as the biggest change in the hazard mitigation plan?
Actually, there isn't a really big change in the plan from the last time.
Okay.
FEMA and MEMA have already gone and approved this, and if there was any wording or anything that any of the towns felt that needed to be changed, they wanted all 16 towns to put a list together and then present it before FEMA, and then get it reapproved rather than doing it 16 times. So, but we come before you tonight to see if you had any issues with the plan.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see, is what were the differences?
Actually,
Yeah.
there is none. The actual, did you read it at all?
Yes, I
Did
did
you?
skim it, but
Yeah,
I have to say it was...
No, the same issues that they've picked out to mitigate in case of a major storm or anything were the same from the last time.
Yeah.
I do believe, were you on this meetings, Tom?
I believe I was,
I
yes.
think
Yeah.
You were mentioned in this
Yep,
one.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't on the EMA when this one went through, so
That's right.
I didn't sit on the board.
I don't have any questions
Okay.
other than the one I asked.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I mean, in the event of an extreme emergency, an extreme storm, whatever, do you feel confident that you have the right resources?
Oh, yes, I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got quite a few contacts that I can pull from. Yeah. And any storm, any major storm or anything, if I fill out my Form 7s and do it properly, then we can mitigate other areas that become a concern also. So it just doesn't deal with the ones that are in this. So I can always go back and mitigate more.
So I guess what we're hearing is the plan is essentially the same as it was before?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah.
And so we've recently heard from Bob Fonts about flood mitigation
Right.
and
Right, I should have told
water
me that he was
level
coming to that meeting.
rise increases and so
Yeah.
on. So there's no change to this plan because of that
Because of
data?
flood, no. No.
Okay.
No, because this plan actually deals with hurricanes and major snowstorms, so we're dealing with flooding anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there any areas that you find that are of particular concern or worry? For example, like the condition of the dam over at West Harbor Pond?
no, more I'm more concerned with downtown area here.
Yeah.
You know, summertime, dealing with getting everybody out if I have to. A few years ago, I got Lincoln County down here, and Tim Pellerin was EMA director, and Tom sat with me then. You know, came up with a plan to evacuate the area if we had to when a hurricane was threatening the area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I think I'll look for a motion to adopt the plan.
I will so move.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
One other
coming
issue,
tonight.
Thank you
What's
very
that?
much.
Okay.
ICS 100, I need to get the board up to speed with ICS 100. You remember, Denise, we tried to get that done a couple of years ago, and you can do it online, but I find that once everybody goes home, they sit in that big chair and they forget about doing it, and so what I'm proposing is to get Boothbay and Boothbay Harbor Selectmen together for 2 or 2.5 hours, whatever time frame that, you know, we can agree upon. And Edgecombe has also shown interest, and Ken Desmond will come down and do the class, and it'll all be done.
I'm sorry, you're
Okay.
going to have to explain to me what
Yeah, what-
ICS,
That we need
ICS
a
100,
review.
it's the incident command system
okay?
put forth by FEMA, and they're going to start attaching it to grants.
Oh,
So
okay.
if we're not up to speed, then they can deny you grants if you go after them. So
Okay.
it's,
Well,
would that be something that would be possible to?
Yeah, scheduling a time is
Right,
the hard part, so.
Get everybody in agreement as to what, you know, if we could come up with a couple of dates, and I could, you know, get Ken Desmond down here to do a class, and,
You know, there is an alternative to that too, and you briefly
yeah,
touched
you
upon
can
it.
do it online.
I mean, I did the ICS 100, 400, and 700 in one afternoon
Yep.
on the computer. So it's not really that, I mean, it didn't take all afternoon. It's not really that lengthy.
Right.
But I think it'd be easier for a lot of the select persons from both towns to do that and try to get everybody together for 2.5 hours, especially as we go into summer. But
Can you
Yeah.
send us the link
link
so we
to it?
can take a look at it and,
If you could please, yeah.
yeah, that would be really helpful.
I'll be knocking on your door again.
It's all
fair
right.
enough.
That's
Fair
okay.
enough.
Yeah, so you could send us the link, or send it to Tom, and Tom
Yeah,
can...
Tom's got the links.
yeah,
Yeah.
when you get to the end of it, if you've passed, which you probably will, you can print off a certificate that says you
Nice.
have passed the training
Okay.
for those.
Yeah.
And that's what Scott and what Julie is going to need for
Yeah.
personnel.
I see.
Oh, great, okay.
And
Thank you very much.
this
Yeah,
needs to
that's
be
very
done by a certain deadline, does it, or?
I'll try to motivate you to do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
I will mention that, you know, Tom, as part of his orientation, provided me with a link to the information. And I did look at it, and there it sat. There it sits.
There you go.
Much-
See,
much to your
Scott,
point.
I get a little credit there, Scott. I did try.
Great.
Well, if you find the other towns want to have the,
Yeah, I just
The
find
meeting.
you know, when
just
we get
let us know,
overnight-
because there might be, some of us might like to do it online, and a
Right.
couple of us might like to attend the session. So just let us know.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
That'd be
Okay.
great.
great, thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Good.
Scott.
Yes, thanks so much.
All right. So, the other thing we were going to talk about tonight were a discussion about our goals of what we hoped we could accomplish over the next 11 months or so. So, since I think you guys, or you all, have put some thought into this, are we ready to have a discussion
Sure.
on this? Okay. I was hoping people would bring, 3 to 5 items, and if everybody's thinking is in the same place, it might be, the discussion might go very quickly, and if we're all over the place, then it might take a little bit longer. Wendy said she wanted to go last.
That's great. I'll save my powder for a little later.
Yeah. So we'll start at
Well, I can
this
go
end of
first,
the
then.
table.
So as you've heard from me for the last couple of meetings anyway, I'm the Boothbay Harbor representative on the ambulance board. in addition to being here on the Select Board. And one of my goals is to continue in that capacity. I think I'm helping out down there. As I mentioned, we're starting into our second annual letter fundraising campaign. We've made some improvements in financial development and fundraising, and we've also come a long way toward being compliant with 501c3 requirements. So we've got a good solid board there now, and I think the ambulance operations are going very smoothly. Second thing has to do with budgeting. And I think we as a board have tightened up our process for determining how and what we fund to nonprofits in town. And I think largely through the legacy of Bill Hamblin, we put in place a policy for adopting, providing funds to new nonprofits that come along, and how to decide what we do fund. But I think we've got some more work to do there. And I know it's probably my own and my job's fault that I didn't make many of the budget committee meetings this season, but I would like to see us be a little bit more rigorous with how we decide how much and what efforts we fund, and that we back that up with data. So with data that shows how many people each of these organizations help and what kind of help is provided. I'm certainly not the only policymaker here when it comes to budgeting, but if I were, each organization would come to us with that kind of information in the January through March sort of time frame. How many people were served with firewood or with food in the Food for Thought program and those kinds of things. So I'll be looking for that when comes budget season again. The third item on my list is a better way of visioning for the town. And what do I mean by that? We've done a lot of visioning, I think, through the Joint Economic Development Committee. But there's not a lot of, and I don't know how much public involvement you have at that committee, but my sense is that we could use more opportunity for the public to be involved in trading ideas with where we should be going as a town. We did a little of that 2 or 3 years ago when we had the branding discussion, but not a whole lot since. And I think that would be interesting, informative, and a way to get more people involved. And then the last one on my list, and certainly the hardest, is let nothing like what happened in Orlando or Newtown or San Bernardino ever happen here. And I have no answers there. I think that taking care of each other is part of that issue. But I guess I would like to raise the level of public conversation around violence, gun violence. We've certainly had more than our share of violence and suicides in our own community. And I know that Sarah is going to have a discussion at the Congregational Church in the not too distant future on that very topic. I wish I had the date and time to share with you. So, that's my list.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks.
Mike?
Well, this is something I look forward to for years. I always enjoy sitting out there and hearing what was proposed. And
Now remember, some of us do have to sleep tonight.
that's true.
Keep your list.
In the honor of Bill Hamblin, who I know would come with many ideas, I took this as a fun challenge, and I came up with 3 simple categories. With 11 subcategories and 35 different individual points. So I can provide, I will not mention
You
all
all
of them.
thought I was kidding, didn't you?
No, I didn't think you were kidding. Just the 3 will be fine, Mike.
I will be happy to share any of this in detail in print for anyone who would like, need some bedtime material. The 3 major areas that I have, and this comes from my background working with the planning board and with joint economic development, so I'm a details and list kind of guy. So that's my apology. Economic development, communications, and infrastructure. Those are my broad categories. I will not dwell much on economic development because I know Wendy, who has been so important and in the center of our JEDC. I know she's going to mention, I'll probably talk quite a bit about that, but we do know about the excitement about the companion event for the Gardens Aglow, and I fully support that. We talk about low-hanging fruit, and the Gardens Aglow is that, being able to do something companion. We have not yet talked about the rest of the summer, and how do we capture the 60, 70, 80,000 people that are down, visiting for that as well. So I would like to see some type of further investigation of a way to work with what we have there, and in terms of capturing and bringing those individuals into the harbor. We're working with the JEDC on a wayfinding assessment and action plan, and again, I totally support that and think that's great, and we need to go forward with that. On the community development side, I would love to see a discussion and talk about things like little community pocket parks. We mentioned at Edgecombe this evening how individual was almost run over by standing in front of a row of lupin and having a picture taken. And there's so many beautiful scenic areas here. I'd love to be able to identify more of them and put some effort into these little pocket parks. We've got great trails and walking loops. There's a thing called a pipeline. There's stairs, there's steps everywhere. I don't want to lose those. If we can somehow...
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Is my time up? Shoot.
That was
Way to go, Scott.
Benches, flowers, bike racks, trash cans, recycle cans, fountains, things like that, all under community development. So that's category number 1. Communications. We've got a great start with our website and our Facebook page. I'd love to see some type of additional improvements and ways to be able to outreach and connect with individuals. There was a great article on May 18th in the Boothbay Register talking about Mark Gore, who was a English high school teacher, and it was entitled Students, They're Agents of Change. And these are kids that are involved in policy change of a subject, and it's something that they feel passionate about. So this is cool stuff. You got kids that are interested in making a difference, and I want to be able to capture them and bring them into the municipal side. The schools can't have all the fun with them. We need to have them here. And whether it's in, on a planning board meeting or a selectmen's meeting or a JEDC, when the Brunswick Landing was basically going through the BRAC Commission and talk about being closed, one of the first things that MIRA did was they went to the high schools and they said, what would you kids like to see in 4 to 5 years? And out of this came a thing called Tech Place, which is this little business incubator. It's where people can rent for $200 a space. They can have a business, they can have access to the base and labs and things like that. So my point is that they asked the students responded, and here you actually have something that's happened. So kids, the students have great ideas. I really would like to tap into that. And then we've got other great areas for information. Our community center, EMS, fire, police. I'd love to outreach to them and make sure that we're getting all of the input that we can from them to get words out and find out what's working, what isn't. And now infrastructure. We've done a great job with the comp plan. I'd love to see at least a discussion about maybe a downtown master plan. We talk about this with the JEDC. Is parking an issue? We've got resilience. What are we doing with storm surge and build up and set up? Retail, housing, tourism, waterfront. Those are all elements that significantly impact our downtown area. So maybe it's time. We've talked with Mary Ellen, who helped, and Bob Fonz helped with our comprehensive plan. Possibly a downtown master plan is the next thing to do. Beautification, there's some terrific efforts that are already underway. I'd love to see more plantings like we did over at Fisherman's Memorial and Whale Park, and sprucing up the town with even more flowers. We've got people coming in town. I'm sure that all appreciate continued efforts with that. Bob and Sally Marone had talked about their concept of the Whale Park, or I'm sorry, not the Whale Park, what's called Skipping Stone Park, that's taking the Footbridge parking lot and possibly doing some type of development there. Bob, I'm carrying your flag here because he told me you wouldn't be here tonight, but to definitely mention it. So I'd love to see more discussions about talking and about developing that, maybe having a kayak launch, doing something to be able to get people between where the water and the land meet.
Just so you know, we already agreed last year to put in stairs going down to the waterfront to make it easier for the rock skipping contest, so that's on their schedule to do before Windjammer Days.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Great. One other thing about public access to water, I'd love to see additional work done on signage and our boat ramps and ways to continually further improve that. I know getting people access to the water is important. And then lastly is with our land use codes. There's been a great conversation at the last planning board meeting about taking all the recommendations in the comp plan that said, and the planning board may consider. And so then actually bringing them together and looking at what are some of the next steps and maybe working off of that list. And that's about it for now.
Okay.
Great.
That was a
Thanks,
lot.
Mike.
Thank you for your indulgence. And I think we can do all that in the next 11 months.
Oh. Well, we could get a start on it at any rate.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Tricia?
Well, I could make a joke right now about Mike taking up all my pieces, but
Yeah.
just a couple really quick things. Obviously, beautification is always on subject in regards to, I know we had talked about bike lanes being put in and things of that nature. Definitely think that would be nice, and we had also talked about bike racks and just those kinds of things, and actually get them in motion. Another thing that actually I was looking at online, there's several different lists that they post online, like best towns in America and that kind of thing. And they always list the criteria. So I think that one of the things that might help draw people to this area is maybe trying to shoot for being one of those best towns in America and seeing what we can do about that. Yes, a lot of it has to do with beautification, but kind of like this is being a branding thing, getting the town to be known as an it town. And another thing that I actually was contemplating about was public transportation. I realize that we do have a couple of cab companies in town, and that's great, but that's one of the things that, yes, we have a trolley as well, but I think that maybe we should think about public transportation, because a lot of our things are kind of spread out quite a bit, And if you are going from one end to the other, it might be something we want to visit. And that's about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
thank you. Good. So, Wendy.
Well, no, I'm last.
You want to go last?
No, I mean, it's up to you, I'm happy to
No,
go.
go ahead, go ahead. I'm-
So mine are not surprising in any regard. I'm very pleased with the progress we've made on economic development. I really just want to continue doing that, and I'm going to mirror what you said, Trish, that we had talked about doing some very simple things, bike racks, and trying to figure out how we can continue the progress of making this a walking and pedestrian-friendly community, and I think there's lots that we can do with that. The sidewalk between Boothbay and Boothbay Harbor should be built finally this year, but I think a lot of people have voiced interest in many more walkways out to West Harbor, past West Harbor Pond, so people can walk over to the aquarium, and people on Atlantic Avenue have said, oh, we want to be able to walk safely into the footbridge so that we can get into town without walking on the street. So I think there's a lot that we ought to be considering about how we continue to push to make this both a pedestrian and biking friendly community. I think the wayfinding, I think Tom's done a great job kicking off, putting in better signage in the downtown. And that's a real key for us of trying to get people to where we think the important things are for them to see and visit and experience. You know, people usually come here with one thing in mind that they want to do. They want to be at the water, or they want to go to the garden. And I think our role is to make sure that we are connecting them to all of the fabulous things that are available here in the Greater Peninsula, because it really is an enticement for them to come back. And I think, Mike, that includes some of the things that you talked about, like greater public access, so people can go kayaking, they can go paddleboarding, they can do all the things that they like to do in the summer. I think it's great for us to be doing the skipping park, but I'd love to have some additional plans or discussions about our waterfront. You know, I look at the bowling alley and I think about the fact that to really see our waterfront, you know, you really have to drive around to see it. In the downtown, it really is obscure by businesses and things like that unless you go to the whale park. And I think that's one thing that makes the whale park so attractive, is that finally you're there, you're at the water. I've thought about the bowling alley, and is the bowling alley an appropriate place maybe to not actually have a building, but to really expand the access to waterfront so that we have more of a pedestrian sort of walking way along the waterfront. But it is one of the major draws to the community, and I think we should figure out how we capitalize on that, because I think people constantly want to be near the water when they come and visit, at least during the summer. A couple other things that I'd love for us to focus on is, and it probably falls under enhancing communication and participation. I'm very concerned about the budget committee membership, and frankly the low numbers of people that turn out for the town meeting. Was really pretty distressing to see, you know, less than 35 people making decisions and voting on the town warrant. And I think we should talk among ourselves about things that we can do to enhance the draw of the town meeting and also the participation in town processes, whether we hold a breakfast or we, I don't know, put something controversial on the warrant or something like that. But, you know, it is part of what is wonderful about the town, is that we participate and can talk together about sharing our ideas. And when we don't have robust participation, it's really a missed opportunity, I think, to come together as a community, Russ, as you said, and be able to air differences, but feel that we're really making decisions collaboratively. And part of that is looking at our town website also as another way of communicating with people. I think we can do a little bit more with the website to be both informative and perhaps having a sort of a broader array of information than just sort of the cut and dried town stuff. So that's my list.
Great, good.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I came with 3 items, basically, I think they were pretty much all covered, but under the economic development category, I really think that what I'd like to see the towns work on, and including ourselves, is developing a more longer-term strategy for economic development for the region. So I'm not sure I have the answer as to how to go about doing that, but I think if we talk to the right people, we can figure that out. So, okay, great. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The notes that I took, I ended up with like 11-ish or 12-ish items.
And that was just Mike's list, right?
Now it's everybody's list, everybody's topics. I mean, certainly we can try to, I can actually type them up over the next week and send them out to everybody.
Yeah, I'm sure Kelly caught them in the minutes
Yeah,
too.
that's
for us,
true.
yeah.
Kelly probably has
Yeah.
them in the minutes. But we might want to think about, talking about if there's any particular ones that are like our, the real hot items that kind of rise to the top that we definitely want to focus on. There might be some that have a little higher priority than others.
Great.
Or
Let's
at least
put that
think
on the
about
next
that.
meeting.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So, okay. Good, good. Anybody think of anything else?
Oh, and
While other people
ICS
were
training.
talking?
That was for you.
We always have ongoing training, and won't be limited just to ICS.
Yeah, really.
Okay, great. So, we'll move on then to public forum. Yes, neighbor.
During the formation of the public forum and all the discussion about it, I feel a responsibility to be public and address it. I came just with one thing that I wanted to bring up, and you did it, Mike, the trash cans on the street. I love living here, and I was just wondering if there's a policy against having trash receptacles on the street. Because what happens is that people, they give it to the storekeepers to dispose of, and I think there should be hopeful that there'd be more trash cans on the street. That seemed very minor after I hear what Russ was talking about, and I too would love to see something about, and I'm sure I'll hear more about it from Sarah, Russ, but keep from trying to do something to avoid the same thing happening here that happened in Orlando. It's such an important matter, and it's just for all of us to do everything that we can. I also like the sidewalks idea on Atlantic Avenue. That would be very self-serving.
I'll
But that's
just
okay.
chime in and second the trash can item, because I've heard from at least 2 shopkeepers in town that I never realized that they're faced with customers that come in with empty soda cups and coffee cups and, here, take care of this for me,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
Why don't they direct them to the dozen or so trash
Well,
cans we have around town?
that has been done, Tom. But are there, I mean,
We have 40. We have
40
tons
trash
of them.
cans?
Yeah, we have recycling ones, we have regular trash, we have
We got the ones where we can start going into the trash.
we have stations for people who walk their dogs. I mean, we have it all over town.
Maybe we need to paint them
Okay.
electric yellow or something.
I was going to
so,
say,
yeah.
maybe it's a
Yeah.
matter of,
Highlighting their
Yeah.
presence, yeah.
See what I'll do, I'll look and see where some of them are, and I'll come back next meeting, and I'll say where they're missing spots.
First one's right out there. Yep,
There you go.
Yep, that'd be great.
Tom, is there a map that Chris has of the layout and placement?
I doubt it. I mean, we know where they all are, but no, I don't think we've ever done that.
As being a off Atlantic Avenue resident, I only know of one that's on Atlantic, which is on the other far side of the footbridge. So,
Yeah, I don't think there's very many over there, because the concentration of the town is over here.
Yeah.
But if you need more over there, we can do that.
Trash cans for here, sidewalks for this other side.
Priorities.
Right, okay. Thank you for your suggestions. All right, anybody else, any input? No, seeing none, I'll move on to the warrants. Can I have a motion
So
to
moved.
approve the warrants?
Yep.
Okay, can we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, I don't think we need an executive session tonight, perhaps next week, if everybody finishes the homework. One would be in order, not next week, at the next meeting. So I'll look for, before I look for a motion to adjourn, I just want to mention that I'll pass this around, but I opened this, it was addressed to the Selectmen, so you all should know about it, but there is a grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Zimmerly Pavilion at St. Andrews Village, Friday, June 24th, from 4:30 to 6 p.m., with a special presentation at 5 o'clock.
I think I'm in North Haven.
So I can pass this around if you want to look at that.
Yeah.
Pass it down that way, and then we'll pass it back.
I think they also have it announced on their big sign out at the end of Emery Lane too, which, by the way,
Oh.
will come down
After that event. Okay, fantastic.
Formally.
Great,
I'd like to go, but I'm in Eastport, so.
okay. So I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
Okay, this is not debatable. All in favor?
I'll just have to lease.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rob.